Women, what do men just not get? This is a pet peeve of mine in trite feminist novels where the heroine rejects absolutely anything that might even tangentially be considered feminine, though somehow she's still always gorgeous with no makeup and long hair. I can fix your small engine, remodel your bathroom, do woodworking, and construct buildings from scratch. I love gaming. I also love wearing dresses, enjoy doing my makeup on special occasions, and love traditionally feminine crafting. I'm so sick of the idea that to be feminist means you have to be manly instead. I think that was a 2000s thing, don't you think? Story 2. Here's a dumb one. The amount of toilet paper we need to use. I've seen a lot of men complain about how much TP the women in their house go through, and they say things like, I hardly use any. Why can't they learn to live off a few squares like I do? Men don't understand that women have a lot more to clean up. Men usually only use it after going number 2 or to clean up a little drip. Women can't just shake it and be done. We also have stuff to clean up, which is constant, and it's only worse when we're ovulating. Then on top of that, we have the time of the month to deal with. We need more toilet paper than you do. Get off our back. For the guys who do that, genuinely, why do you give them flack for it? Story 3. That women aren't a monolith. Just because your ex liked X doesn't mean your new girlfriend will. Just because your mom likes X doesn't mean your aunt will. Just because your sister had light period doesn't mean your friend is faking her pain. And on and on. Women are people, and while they share common experiences, they have their own preferences. Like 90% of the Ask Women threads are removed because they aren't asking women general questions about their experiences in being women. They're incredibly specific questions that they should be asking their girlfriend or their mother. I.e., will my girlfriend like X in bed? What should I get my mom for Mother's Day? Etc. Story 4. I think a lot of guys don't really get how if you act like an additional child to be taken care of at home, then this is going to have a direct, deeply negative impact on whether your partner sees you as a competent adult down the line. This generally means doing your fair share of housework as another adult in the same household without your partner having to act as your manager. If you've been living here for 5+ years and the house isn't huge, you should generally have an idea of where XYZ household items typically get stored or how to do the laundry. That isn't to say that suddenly doing the chores will fix all your relationship problems, but it's generally a good idea to be like this from the beginning and be consistent. This probably isn't that gendered in real life, but you see this crop up a lot in hetero relationships where somehow the girlfriend is wound up doing most housework, childcare, and also works full-time, and the dude maybe mows the lawn once a week or does household projects that somehow never actually get completed. Story 5. The energy it takes to actually get in the mood enough for it to not hurt. That's why so many women don't want to do it multiple times a day and aren't ready at the slightest suggestion. It's so easy to just jam it into something. I wish more men understood that it is not the same. Like it is a collapsed tube. That's why tampons the size of a finger stay in place. You can't just jam crap in there. Even with tampons, you have to go easy. Story 6. When I first met my now husband, he didn't understand why women are scared of most men. It wasn't until I was mistreated, stalked, and humiliated by men that he completely understood. He apologized for never taking me seriously before. It didn't take long for him to come to the realization, which honestly happened within the first few months of dating. But gross men being gross, it happened a lot where we used to live. My husband has saved me many times, and I'll always be thankful for him. Story 7. That fights never come out of nowhere. I just moved past this life lesson with my significant other. We generally get along, and I let him lead the relationship. I also bring up concerns that turn into conflict, that turn into problems because he was neglecting the need to acknowledge it and how it made me feel. It takes 2 people to have a relationship. Remember, guys, you can both be burnt out, but how you handle and process is not how your partner does so. What could originally be, I wish you'd pay attention when I talk to you, turn into, you consistently neglected our relationship to the point I doubt if you care for your relationship or your partner. Correct yourself or accept that you are liable to the consequences. Don't be that guy that brings a girl to that point. Story 8. A lot of us don't view you as protectors. I know that's the image you have been sold since you were a child, but the people you're supposedly protecting us from come from the same group you do. And bad men don't walk around with a sign saying, I'm a bad man. So our caution has to be applied as a blanket policy. We don't hate you, we just know that if something bad happens to us, the first thing people will do is ask why we even put ourselves in that situation. It's not personal. Yeah, a lot of men don't understand that. Story 9. If we have intimacy with you, we may get pregnant, even with contraception. You may then disappear, even after acting like a respectable person, and fight any ties to your child forever. We may be required by law to bury your child and become a mother alone, struggling to support ourselves and a newborn. If we don't pass away during pregnancy or childbirth, which is more common in some parts of the US than in any other developing nation, don't ask why women won't just sleep with you, why we won't give you a chance and just have intimacy once, or why we're not going to come over on the first date. Women enjoy intimacy too, but we're facing the rest of our lives potentially raising your child alone if we don't pass away first. Story 10. Most adult women have incredibly high tolerance for pain. This can be due to a myriad of contributing factors, like menstruation and childbirth, but can also be contributed to by factors women do not want to speak openly about, like poverty, not be able to afford care or treatment, cruelty, mental, physical, or even fear of being labeled as weak or emotional every time they make a complaint. If an adult woman in your life complains to you about pain or illness, please take her seriously. You aren't necessarily responsible for solving it, but showing a little compassion can really brighten their day. Yes, some women will not have a high tolerance, but it's definitely the minority. Story 11. Stop taking starting a family so lightly. Creating a child is 99% of women's work and 1% of man's satisfaction. Put yourself in her shoes and think twice before pressuring her to have another child or mocking her because she didn't bounce back. Pay some respect because you did absolutely nothing. Also, since we don't live in a vacuum and we inherited gender roles, put much more effort in your family because I swear that your partner is doing way more than you think. You're not a 50-50 couple, especially if you have kids. Story 12. I am a man, but how terrifying it can be to be walking alone in the dark. I remember when I was in college, I worked the opening shift at a Dunkin' in downtown Boston. I'd walk to work around 4:30 a.m. when it was still pitch black out. I distinctly remember once seeing a woman walking in front of me. She was short and petite, couldn't have weighed more than 110 pounds. Every 10 or so steps, she'd turn her head and look over her shoulder, checking behind herself and her entire surroundings. It dawned on me that I've never, ever once had to do that. I walk where I please with full confidence that nobody's going to mess with me. I'm not super tall, but I'm well built and muscular. I'm not a threatening individual, but I definitely give off don't mess with me vibes. She absolutely did not. I immediately crossed the street and sped up my walking pace to pass her, just so that she'd have one less stranger to worry about. Oh hey, I do that too. Story 13. We understand you better than you far understand us. Not only are women generally given a lot more social training than men and raised under the expectation of being empathetic caregivers, but the male experience isn't really an avoidable one. I grew up reading books and watching movies with male protagonists about male issues, not because I sought them out, but because that was just the books and movies there were. Meanwhile, the majority of movies don't even pass the Bechdel test. Understanding women is optional. The female experience takes effort to find and learn about. I see Reddit threads titled things like, "Men, what do you wish women understood?" It's full of things that pretty much every woman has known for years, whether we wanted to or not. We know what you feel. You know why you feel it, and we're stuck over explaining for the nth time why we're nervous around strange men. Story 14. Periods, pregnancy, and childbirth experiences vary. You can't compare one woman to another. I'm lucky that my period cramps are so light that I can get by with Tylenol, but there are women who are in too much pain to move and literally can't hold a job. Those women aren't faking just because I can get by fine. One woman may have a relatively easy pregnancy, while another woman might have such bad hyperemesis gravidarum she spends half the pregnancy in the hospital. One woman might be able to work up until she gives birth, while another woman may get put on bed rest on month 3. One woman might feel fine while another woman is in too much pain to move. She's not being overdramatic just because you know someone else who had an easier time. One woman might have a relatively easy childbirth while another woman might be in labor for 4 days, have a 4th-degree tear and end up with PTSD. Another woman may have a C-section with no anesthesia because there was no time. So, just because one woman told you childbirth was easy, doesn't mean the woman with PTSD is lying. Story 15. If I ask you if anything is wrong and you say nothing for situations where nothing is wrong and situations where something is wrong, I'm gonna keep asking, because you've conditioned me to think something is wrong when you're silent. And it is going to be literally as simple as a kind and caring, I promise you that I'm honestly not upset. Ease my mind. If you get annoyed at my anxiety, it's only going to make me think something is definitely wrong. And I put this here because I've never had this issue with my girlfriends, just boyfriends and my dad. Same here, but the opposite. Story 16. Having a baby is terrifying and you can never understand. It's nice that you want a baby, but are you the one to carry it? To suffer through birth, pregnancy nausea, postpartum depression? No, you're not. You develop new allergies, you can't sleep for months, and then years. There's so much that can go wrong. You don't have to give yourself up in order to become a father. You don't have to worry about your career. You don't have to be afraid of how your body will react to your baby. Postpartum depression can literally make you want to end it all. Baby, you're overreacting. So many women went through birth and nothing happened. Well, newsflash, women still pass away while giving birth, so screw you. Story 17. There are some stereotypes of women like crazy, nag, gossip, etc. Yes, there are some women like that, but I've come across a lot of men who exhibit these negative traits, but they seem to get a free pass. Women are not mollycoddled when they speak up about their emotions, not always comforted when we cry. People say that men don't cry because they're afraid of their reaction or they were told big boys don't cry. We were also told that as children. Women are often treated with disdain when they express emotion and called too sensitive. We like intimacy. We can't make the jokes and be forward like you because we're judged or we're afraid of how it will be perceived. I.e., if she made that joke, she's up for it. A lot of the time, I want to join in fun conversations that guys in my peer group don't even think twice about having, but I have to think, if I say this or that, does that mean they will think I'm desperate, etc.? I want to connect with you. Well, the men who actually think you're down for it if you joke about it are the desperate ones. Story 18. Compliments. I used to give a lot of compliments to both female and male friends. Nothing about their looks, but things like, I think you're a very good or smart or fun person because guys always either assumed I was interested in them as more than a friend or they started liking me, or both. While women just told me, aw, thanks, and moved on. Shows how much the guys aren't used to attention and compliments. Now I've stopped complimenting them as much. I'm afraid it will send the wrong signals even though I always make it clear that I'm not interested in them romantically. Story 19. Consent is not as simple as getting a yes. It must be freely given. A choice made without pressure, manipulation, or being under the influence. You cannot freely give consent when there are unequal power dynamics at play. Reversible. You're allowed to change your mind and stop what you're doing at any time, even mid-act. Informed. You can only consent when you have the full picture of the circumstances. Enthusiastic. Doing something only because you really want to and not because it's expected of you. They should be excited to do it. Their body language is conveying their enthusiasm. Specific. Agreeing to one act doesn't mean agreeing to every act. Ask for consent for every act, every time. A lot of people have trauma and can have freeze or fawn responses. Check in periodically with your partner to make sure they're okay during intimacy. When in doubt, pull back and stop. Story 20. Honestly, from experience, my ex-boy best friend would get on me from being too sensitive or dramatic when I'm not in the best mood. They'll tell me I'm just blaming my hormones or period for it. Hormones could be a possible reason, but sometimes it's just in general. Personally, I'm tired of hearing being called sensitive when I try expressing how I'm feeling because I'm just a human being and it's okay to feel emotions. Because my ex-friend literally tried to make sure I don't feel validated about my feelings and I had to keep maybe months of emotions in because of it. Lol, sorry for the rant. I know I shouldn't say sorry, but I also have been blamed things that weren't my fault. Story 21. Everything. I miss the point of everything that women say. Men don't understand that misogyny and violence are a daily threat to us and not just a topic of debate the way they treat it. They don't understand that women are wary of them because 99% of violence is committed by men. And a lot of the time it happens with people we've known for years. They don't understand that it's not our responsibility to coddle them and make them happy just because they feel like they deserve it. They don't understand what it feels like to have your knowledge, experience, and traumas cross-examined at every opportunity just because you're female. They don't understand how it feels to be the smallest, most vulnerable person in a room full of men. I could go on. They don't understand anything about the female experience, and they don't care to. Story 22. It's easy, as a single straight woman, to find a man that wants to have intimacy with you, which will likely not get you even close to finishing. It is hard to find a straight man that is honest with what they're looking for and has the same values, wants an equal partnership, monogamous, same political views, same thoughts on kids, emotionally available, respects you as a person and treats you as such. When I hear dating apps are easy for women, it is not. The amount of people liking my profile and sending messages are the complete opposite of what is on my profile and what I clearly stated that I am looking for. I've found, if you have to ask, I won't like the answer anyway, so I just don't match. That's a lot to grasp through before just finding one person you align with. Then you have to both end up liking each other. I put effort into my profile, so if I don't see the same, they're not on there for the same reason you are. I.e., just ask, no or minimal info and basic topics, only one pic, etc. And it's best to not engage because they're likely on for validation only. Story 23. How we have dreams, wants, and desires too. I dated too many men who just acted like you were just supposed to be happy moving to another state and leaving your friends, family, and job behind because they wanted to move or because they got a job opportunity. Or the guys who act like you're supposed to work full-time, take care of all the household chores, and take care of children, because apparently women just exist to do tasks. They don't need downtime or relaxation. Also the guys who immediately try to change everything about you. They just started dating you, but they have this list of things they're going to change, and too bad if you disagree with that. I had several men who were genuinely shocked when I dumped them and they kept trying to manipulate me into changing my hobbies. One guy said when we started dating that I was going to need to get rid of one of my pets to make the relationship work. A pet I had for over 10 years, I might add. Story 24. Equal emotional support. So many women in relationships with men end up carrying the emotional load for themselves and their male partners. But the men don't realize it because that's just how it is. When the woman needs emotional support, the man often falls flat and she has to go to her family or friends to get that support. It isn't fair and it isn't okay. If you don't know how to emotionally support your partner, ask them early on in the relationship and use every opportunity to learn until it becomes natural to you. That's what most women do. It's time men do the same. We shouldn't have to explicitly tell you what to do every time we're at our lowest. It makes for a healthy and well-balanced relationship or partnership. Story 25. Older men sometimes mansplain the crap out of everything I happen to do when they see me. What some of them don't get is that I know that the library closes in half an hour, that when I unpark my bicycle, I need to watch out for that wall. Like a lot of the time, girls let boys explain stuff. It's not because they didn't know. But even more so, yeah, we do also know that a lot of these men know exactly that we probably know what they're telling us and are doing it for their own ego or amusement. I'm not talking about some sweet person who clearly just wants to talk to someone. That's different, obviously. I'm talking about the ones that love to look down on young women and try to make them feel like they just embarrass themselves and that kind of have a whole yap that involves no response from you because you're uncomfortable, or that pokes fun at any completely normal response you give. I know a lot of insecure old men. Story 26. If you really just want some warm person that you think looks good to show up at your home and have intimacy with you, and not express any opinions or feelings, then what you actually want is a worker. Most women are so burnt out on dating apps because men just shop for free workers. Almost all of them aren't interested in women as human beings with personalities and intrinsic value, separate from being a possible partner. It's beyond disheartening and disgusting how much corn has ruined men's ability to interact with women in a normal and a healthy manner. That is not being demisexual, which is a real invalid orientation, and I think the term is just used wrongly by men on the apps. To expect some conversation and connection before intimacy is appealing. We're putting ourselves at enormous risk in a lifetime of child rearing every time we try to have some sexy times. There has to be some trust. Story 27. I think lots of guys deny that sexism still exists in the West. As a child, I used to think so too, to a certain extent until I began to use social media. There's a massive chunk of men who still believe in the good of 1950s housewife narrative and would gladly behave accordingly if society permitted it. Lots of guys who claim to support gender equality are secretly watching alpha red pill content that promotes treating women as incubators. Take a good stroll through the YouTube Shorts comments. At this point, even if it's not gender related, they still find a way to villainize women. It can be a story of a female gymnast winning a gold medal or a story of a man being robbed and then someone finds a way to twist it into a woman-hating tirade. It's really scary to think your own partner can hate you so viciously for something you can't control. You'll only find out when it's too late. Because, of course, you know they won't get women to date them otherwise. Happened to a friend of mine and she ended up in a really bad mental space after breaking it off with him. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 28. That to be a biological parent, a woman has to sacrifice everything. Food, sleep, body, work, career, comfort, even her brain matter. There was a study done showing changes to pregnant women's brains. Lose dignity. Hormones like her body will never be the same even if she bounces back. You can still see the difference even after centuries that has birthed and one that hasn't. Despite this, they just flippantly say they want kids, but do absolutely none of them sacrifices. If it was the other way around, there would be some sort of protection mechanism in place for men and contract and compensation from the benefiting women. Men just don't get why many women don't want to do this. Story 29. That us sharing our grievances about what's going on in their lives, due to sexism, etc., is not an attack on them. I see so many posts where women are highlighting things that happen to them due to misogyny, sexism, or other things, and so many men chime in, "Yeah, well, men are suffering too," and turn the focus onto issues like loneliness or troubles with dating, etc. It's not a competition. Women talking about issues in their lives isn't them implying men's lives are perfect. Men as a group and women as a group should act like a healthy couple in a relationship. We should all hear each other out and validate each other's feelings. Story 30. That most women have encountered an oppressor by the time they are 18. Doesn't mean anything happened, but they most likely have had at least one, usually many more, grown man catcall them, flirt with them, etc. And I'm not talking they were young and a 22-year-old guy hit on them while they were out in town or something. I'm talking about 30-plus-year-old men hitting on young girls that look young. So when you say things like, most men aren't like that, we know that, because it wasn't every man that did that at the time, but it was a lot of men. And the men that did it were into those kind of girls, and that's why they did it at that point in your life. There are a lot of men that aren't into those kinds of girls but are also oppressors in ways. There are a lot of men that seem nice and end up oppressors. There are a lot of men that are straight up criminals. There are a lot of men that try to get women to drink alcohol. There are a lot of men that get creepy and stalk you at work and you don't know what the heck is going to happen. It's not every man in every situation, but it's a lot of men in very specific situations because they have specific things that get them off. So you have to be mindful in all the situations. I think that is the part that gets lost in a lot of men. It's not that we're convinced a guy's always going to run in and snatch us out of place and drag us into an alley. We might be worried about that when walking by an alley. We don't think some guy is going to come into our work and try to get us to drink alcohol, but we might be worried about that when at the bar. We don't think that a man is going to walk up to us at the grocery store and start smacking us around, but we might be worried about that when we move in with you. So while it might seem like we're worried about only one thing all the time with every man, it's more nuanced than that. We're worried about certain men in certain situations at different times. And if there's that many men willing to try and manipulate a young woman, there's just that many more men out there waiting to do something else in a different situation. I totally agree. That's why we as men should make an effort to make sure that women feel safe around us. Story 31. When you say the store was out, you mean I didn't look very hard for the item or ask the store clerk where it was. It's code for it wasn't important for me to find it for you. Also, this isn't my problem, but seems to be a big one on Reddit. You know that you were self-sufficient before we came into your life. You were able to feed yourself, do your own laundry, clean your room, buy groceries, and were able to watch other people if the need arose. We realize that every time you say you can't do those things, now that you're with us is really weaponized incompetence. You just don't want to, and secretly want your wife to be your mommy again. If I send you to the grocery store to pick up raspberries, you will come back with a box of mold. Story 32. Not every physical encounter needs to lead to intimacy. In fact, sometimes we just want to cuddle, get a hug, loaf around, and not have to worry that our presence causes the man to want to fool around. Just go do it on your own if something so basic gets you going so easily. Intimacy takes a longer time, especially if you're doing it right. We have other things we want to do, and intimacy is entirely optional. For many of us, intimacy isn't necessary at all, and we mostly do it just because you want to. It's like ice cream. Need to have now and then, but it's not a daily thing. Consider the woman's feelings when you ask or insist on whistles. Your Johnson smells. At least clean yourself appropriately before you think it might come up. Sometimes it's just not on the radar of things we want to do, and for those of us who don't, making us do it anyway can be traumatizing. Story 33. Many female patients told me their partners don't understand them being moody during their periods. They get annoyed because she's acting up. Many men don't understand that when you have your period, you don't suddenly decide to be a witch. You don't enjoy crying over little things or getting angry and upset all of a sudden. Those are things out of the control of that person. It's because hormone levels are all over the place and those affect your mood big time. Your partner is clearly struggling and not feeling well. How about supporting them instead of getting annoyed for acting like a witch? It's literally not on purpose. Their body is doing that to them. They'll still love and care for you, but if you have terrible cramps and you're bloated and have back pain and diarrhea, feel ugly and depressed and just want to crawl into a hole until it's over, wouldn't you act differently too? Not even considering the hormones that mess you up. Story 34. An actual conversation would be nice. Compliment every now and then. Actually making time for the lady. Forget the BS and actually be your true self. Holding the door open for someone. Not be judgment of the woman's past. Especially when men ask how many men you've been with. Why does it matter when you probably have been with that many women or more? A man should treat the women with respect at all times. Don't act like you're God's gift to all women. Don't let your ego be so big that you don't see how you treat other people. Plus, I know we all have baggage. Don't act like you don't. Always pay your bills. If you have kids and you're not married, get along with their mother even if you can't stand her. If arguments start, make it to where you meet at the police station. Don't ever say anything bad about one another because in the end, you didn't hurt them. You hurt your kids and wonder why they don't want to be around you. Always pay child support, even if you tell the courts to garnish them to make sure they have the money, so you can learn to live on what you have. If the new woman doesn't like it, drop her. She's there for drama. With that said, it goes the same for women about men. Story 35. I think men highly underestimate how much of our behavior we adjust to protect ourselves from men. They don't realize how learned the behavior is and the subtleties women go through to adapt their body language, but not be accused of being rude or cold. For example, I don't look at strange men fully in the face and I never make deliberate eye contact. It is situational, of course. I tend to do this most when I'm outside. Amusement parks, walking through the city, going to the park, and public places like the store. I'm aware of them at all times, of course. My eyes just don't stay on the face long enough to actually see them. It's fleeting enough that socially it helps me not feel cowed prematurely. Our friends might comment on some guy's cool jacket as he walks by us, and I can't picture the jacket in my memory of him when I reach for it, even though it was seconds ago. He's just a tension-filled shape out of the corner of my eye. I've realized that I would be a terrible eyewitness to a crime because of this, to be honest. It's like there's a sensor in my peripheral for men, and once they enter it, I'm subconsciously making sure I know where they are, but without drawing attention to myself or inviting a conversation, but making eye contact. Sometimes, eye contact with a man means that his entire energy changes towards you. They'll almost go out of their way to get back in your eyesight or run into you while you're trying to grocery shop. They may never talk to me at all. They're just fine making me feel cornered and chased in the supermarket. Story 36. Their interpersonal problem-solving skills aren't really that great or superior to hashing it out or venting. Men really overestimate their abilities in solving every problem. If your solution introduces new problems, it's not really a solution. Having intimacy is uncomfortable and sometimes scary. Under very specific circumstances, it can feel good, but outside of that, it's just as bad as it seems. Our things aren't black holes with no feelings. Having physical touch as a love language doesn't mean intimacy. Story 37. That we just want to be seen as other people, not it might give us its phone number and date us. My favorite part of falling in love with someone is just being friends first, then the flirting starts. Not total stranger sees me, starts flirting, lands date. I'm a slow burner who wants to feel butterflies and learn a bit about you before the romance door is opened. I want to see what makes him laugh, what he's passionate about, how he reacts to bad news, etc., before agreeing to courtship. The best marriages are friendships in them, not just two people who like to have intimacy with each other. If I can't make you laugh, you're not the guy for me. If you can't make me laugh, I'm not the girl for you. Why would I fall in love with someone that I have no emotional attachment to? Is just some pickup line and swoosh of your $100 haircut supposed to woo me? No. Befriend me. Make each other laugh. Have fun with me first. Then one of us will ask the other out. If the romance doesn't pan out, stay friends then. Like not everything has to end in hatred and drama. Sometimes the connection is made then fizzles out. If you have friendship as a stepping stone, it's easier to weed out if it might fizzle out or not. It makes way too much sense not to do it. You know what? Yeah, that's a better way to look at it. Story 38. This is more in the realm of mom or family stuff, but how impactful the mental load of being a mom can be. Being the one that is, by default, the one that makes all doctor, dentist, and school appointments, even vet appointments, the one that plans out meals and does all the grocery shopping, trip planning, remembering all the stuff for the kids, on and on and on. If I have to tell or ask you to do it, it is still a part of my mental load. Will you remember? Will I have to remind you? For me, the answer is always yes. It is very draining and honestly a stopper. That just because you don't see something being done and it isn't specifically announced, doesn't mean it's not happening. Most women I know just do the things, laundry, cleanup, pet care, etc., and don't proclaim it to the world when it happens. My husband actually accused me of never cleaning the other day because he changed the kitty litter, which he announced before he did, after he did it, and of course when accusing me of never cleaning. Do you think the kids have clothes to wear? There are clean dishes in the cabinets and dinner has been cleaned up? Oh, the magic cleaning fairies must have come in while I was lounging in our imaginary drawing room eating bonbons. Yeah, your husband's a schmuck. Story 39. Housework, in my case. My man is all getting it with period pain, work stress, messages, washing my car for me. I'm too short and need a stepladder to get to the top, and all the good stuff. Housework, he runs the vacuum randomly like it's a speedway track, scrubs the toilet after a massive dump to clean his mess, but does not then rinse the brush under a flushing toilet. That said, he's amazing in so many other ways, and it's all a compromise, right? Yeah, I can clean more, but I enjoy it. I enjoy giving him a nice home. He enjoys looking after me when I'm in pain. Not that he likes me in pain, just takes care of me. Keeps the outside and lawns looking good. Good question, OP, but I'm not going to manslam. It's a two-way street. Story 40. How much effort and money it takes to reach the lowest bar of looking what is deemed feminine, to be well-groomed, put together, or professional. One must be constantly epilating or lacquering or straining or beach waving or teasing or plucking or applying or removing or concealing, all of which necessitates consuming, which necessitates money, which necessitates time, which is kept short by all the epilating and lacquering and appointments et al. It's exhausting just to appear acceptable while performing gender. They also don't get that there should be a more well-used term called labor digger. I don't have a problem with a woman who is with a man for his money. After all, he's probably with her for her looks, and what is more transitory and shallow in the long run? Women are discriminated against and make less. Things made for women cost more. We have the right to at least make advantageous marriages for ourselves. Why should we give up even more? But a lot of men who think women are just after their money are just after women's labor. They want someone to cook, clean, organize their social calendars, do the emotional support work of buying all his relatives' birthday gifts, act as travel agents, secretaries, laundresses, and are still often required to go to an additional job. So, two things. Women, in order to not run afoul of the hegemony, must commit to a painful, expensive, and time-consuming regimen not equaled by men. Secondly, gold digger is a pre-row trope used by fathers who didn't want to accept responsibility for their offspring. Let's be more suspicious of labor diggers instead. Story 41. When something is wrong, it isn't just because we're on our period. Our period is about to start, or we're pregnant, or more than just that, and have in fact an entire body that can malfunction and be completely separate from our stuff. If one woman tells you her periods aren't painful and another woman tells you they're paramount to being suffering with how painful they are, it doesn't mean one of them is lying. Believe both of them. You should find it weird if a woman is apologizing to you, a man, especially apologizing profusely for her period. You also shouldn't expect a period-inspired apology ever. Whatever hardships you experience due to a woman's period is actually non-existent compared to what she experiences having to deal with it firsthand. Story 42. Period pain, yeast infection itches, and most also don't understand the constant feeling of needing to pee and burning pee of UTIs, although some do. Giving birth, being pregnant, the constant judgmental eye of society, weight pressure, makeup pressure, the pressure to look like a supermodel. Strangers make gross comments about your body, getting touched by strangers, especially if you're pregnant. All of the extra safety concerns and measures we take to protect ourselves, the impact of mistreatment crime statistics, all the crazy crap we do to our bodies to have intimacy without getting pregnant. And finally, what I like to call hormone hell. Tried to get everything, probably missed stuff. Story 43. Okay, let me explain. You have to understand something about men. I know it can be hard sometimes to do that. You see, throughout history, men have typically been breadwinners. And that's not to mean literal bread, but money. Money, in case you don't know what that is a system of value that is used to compensate someone for their work or craft, and then in turn, used by that person to produce goods and services. The simple exchange is the bedrock of what we call the economy. Now, the economy is very complex, so let's just skip that for now and return to my original explanation of your question. First of all, there may be some things about women you don't understand, so please allow me to explain women to you before we go any further. Unlike men, women are naturally less likely while men are more likely. I know this probably doesn't make sense to you, but please sit down so I can tell you why. You see, because women, as explained above, are themselves, it can be difficult to understand things. I can explain things, just sit still and don't make any sudden movements or men will be uncomfortable. Is an important man comfortable while explaining, so feel smart? Women sit, so men talk, and you are nice, so it is okay, man smart. It's that simple. Story 44. Some men really don't get the drastic changes that happen to a woman after having a child, emotionally, physically, mentally, hormonally, psychologically. I used to dress really alt, kind of gothish and promiscuous. Since having a baby, I totally changed my style for a number of reasons, and my one buddy is constantly bringing it up when I don't anymore, and I stopped trying to explain that I'm not trying to attract any kind of attention to myself or my child. I feel different now. I'm a single mom and I no longer have hours to put together outfits, do my makeup, install my dreads like just so many things. Then he made a comment about how I wouldn't want to have intimacy because I'm scared of getting pregnant, and I was like, dude, I'm 8 months postpartum and you have no idea how broken I still feel down there. Becoming pregnant is the least of my worries. This is just one example, but I've come across dozens since giving birth. Story 45. Sacrificing our body to grow children. It's not just weight gain. I know a lot of men can be sympathetic or empathetic, but do they really know what it's like to have a ab separation? No core strength that leads to horrible lower back pain? Incontinence to the point where you don't want to laugh around your friends or do squats because you'll whiz every single time. Skin is stretched beyond repair and requires surgery to remove or fix. The intense fluctuation of hormones that make you feel like you're losing your mind. How you don't even feel like yourself anymore. To the point where even if you had free time, you wouldn't even know what to do. I know men can also lose themselves when it comes to parenthood, but don't know how much it affects them physically. It's weird being in a body that doesn't feel like your own. I feel in worse shape than my mid-60s mother-in-law. Story 46. Not all men, but specifically my boyfriend doesn't understand how I could just not like playing sports or exercise or FPS games. I'm autistic and hate feeling sweaty and sticky and have really, really bad anxiety. I tried playing Val twice since he just wanted me to try, and the second the other players started talking crap, I would have a panic attack. I've told him I prefer to stick to chill single-player games where I can do my own thing at my own pace. Mostly stick to Roblox. He also loves soccer and still likes to practice when he can or feels like it. I can only go as far as passing the ball back and forth, and on bad days, knees giving me problems, feeling groggy, etc., I'll just set up a chair and watch him practice doing tricks and stuff and cheer him on. It was the worst at the beginning, and I had to explain to him dozens of times that I have my likes or interests, and he has his before he began to understand. He used to want me to practice with him the way his old teammates did and would get mad when I expressed my dislike for that much exercise or would mess up a drill too many times. That's when we compromised in just passing the ball. He'll still try to get me to try games, but at least there are games that are a bit closer to my preference. Lol. Most recently was Spider-Man, and I like to do the puzzles for him. Story 47. This may just be me, but I feel the need to explain that I do not identify with having a period, meaning I never had a moment where I accepted it or got used to it. Obviously, I'm not shocked by it, but it's not a neutral aspect of having a body like cutting your nails or flossing your teeth. Every time it rolls back around, I'm just as frustrated, inconvenienced, resentful, and bitter about it as I was the first time my day was interrupted by throbbing pain. Sure, by now I know what type of pain I'm in for, but familiarity with the pain doesn't lessen the severity of it. Sure, I know how to cork the drain and treat the stains, but I hate having to swipe my card for all this BS. I hate spending all this money and time making sure no one else is burdened by the imagery of my shedding uterus or by the biohazards I may leave behind for 10 days out of the month. No, I never got used to it. I deal with it. I'm not asking men for sympathy, only the courtesy of letting me complain and externalize the rage once a month. Every month, for as long as this ridiculous, painful, and expensive biological routine lasts. You don't even have to say anything in response. As a matter of fact, don't. Just let me rage for the length of a rant and mirror my sad expressions back to me when the pain starts back up and stops me mid-sentence. Then your monthly routine is done. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're gonna love this. Catch you in that video.